Honourable members, prayers. Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favour upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that it will perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic, thou members of Parliament, and the Ministers of State with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labours of government, this land and people may be well and truly served. Their good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. O God, grant us the vision of our country, fair as it might be, country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service, and honor shall be given to the deserving, country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for the common good. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people, that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honourable members, we'll commence with the correction of votes and proceedings dated Tuesday, 8th November 2022. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8. Yes, Honourable
Speaker, on page 7 and 8, on page 7, item 4, the Honourable Member for Parliament for Karaga, he sought permission to participate in the COP27. Our leadership have received his leave of absence form. We have actually endorsed this, and it has been sent to the Speaker. And that also applied to the number 12, the second Deputy Speaker, who is also on official assignment, and then 14, the Chief Whip, and then the Honourable Minister responsible for lands and natural resources, number 27 on page 8. Just for the record, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Throughout this week, this matter has come up about application for leave to be absent not being processed and put before the table office. But it is good we keep reminding ourselves so that they come into the record for future reference. Yes. Very well. Page 8. Page 9. Page 10. Page 11. Page 12. Page 13. Page 14. Page 15. Yes, Honourable Member for Fathers.
Honourable Speaker, page 15, Roman numeral VII, Reverend Stephen Yao Owusu. His designation should be Director of Budgeting, Monitoring, and things should be evaluation, not evaluating. Thank you.
But are you also correcting the name? Is it Yao?
The name is okay. I was just trying to link that to the designation.
Sorry, I want to be clear. You said the name is what?
Or say, I don't have any issue with that. I'm talking about the evaluation.
Very well. Page 16, page 17, page 18, page 19, page 20, page 21, page 22, page 23, page 24, page 25, page 26, page 27, page 28, page 29, page 30, page 31, page 32, page 33, page 34, Honorable John Jenapo, are you on your feet? Kindly resume your seat then. Page 36. Page 37. Page 38. Page 39. Page 40. Page 41. Page 42, page 43, page 44, page 45, page 46, page 47, page 48, page 49, page 50, 51, page 52, page 53, page 54, page 55. Honourable members, in the absence of any corrections, official report, the votes and proceedings of Thursday, 8 November 2022 is hereby adopted as the true record of proceedings. Honourable members, I wish to vary the order of business and to take statements before I revert to question time. I have admitted one statement in the name of the Honourable Member for Wa East, Dr. Godfred Sedi Jassau. Honourable, you may read your statement now.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to read a tribute by my good self, the member for Wa East, in honor of the late Alhaji Issa Kusalia, former MP for the Wa East constituency. Mr. Speaker, it is with a heavy heart that I bring to you sad news of the passing of Alhaji Isaac Salia, the former Honorable Member of Parliament for Wa East constituency. He died on Tuesday, the 4th of October, 2022 at the 37 Military Hospital after he suffered from a short illness. He is survived by a kind-hearted wife, Hajia Fati Isaac Salia, and his 4 children. His remains were flown to Wa and has since been buried in accordance with Islamic practices. Mr. Speaker, the late Alhaji Salia was born on 15th of June 1952 in Manwe in the Wa East district of the Upper West region. He attended the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration, where he pursued a diploma in public administration. He was also awarded a Bachelor of Science degree in political science at the University of Ghana, Legon. Alhaji Salia served successfully in several administrative and management roles for a long period. From 1979 to 81, he worked as an administrator for the Navrongo District Assembly. Between 81 and he served in the Coordinating Council of the then Upper Region, and soon after worked as the Managing Director of Upper Kwari. Mr. Speaker, Alhaji Salia ventured into politics and participated in the 1992 parliamentary elections. He was successful and became the MP in the first, second, and third parliaments under the Fourth Republic of Ghana. To the best of his ability, he well represented the good people of Wa East constituency from January 1993 to January 2005. While in Parliament, he served as the chairperson of the Committee on Transport and Communication and the Committee on Food, Agriculture and Cocoa Affairs from 1997 to 2001. He also served as a member of some other committees, which included the Committee on Roads and Highways, the Committee on Environment, Science and Technology, the Committee on Trade, Industry and Tourism, and the Committee on Local Government and Rural Development. Mr. Speaker, as an experienced lawmaker and a father figure with a calm demeanor, the late Alhaji Salia was appointed the Upper West Regional Minister in 2010 during the Mills Mahama administration. Alhaji Salia was a devoted Muslim who openly professed his faith and practiced Islam in all his endeavors. He was the chairman of the Hajj Board from 1993 to 2001, and it was during his tenure on the board that most of the foundational management protocols were put in place, which resulted in the many successes recorded and still being recorded in the organization of the annual pilgrimage to Mecca by Muslims. Mr. Speaker, in honoring the late Honorable Alhaji Isaac Salia, permit me to itemize one of his key values and competencies. One key value that characterized him was his altruistic and peaceful nature, which was evident in his stand for unity in this multicultural, multi-religious environment. He was a great Democrat and a nationalist who devoted his life in serving his country. His intelligence and deep knowledge in governance can be seen in some of his contributions on the floor of Parliament. For want of time, he was so passionate about decentralization and about making transport available to people of the local communities, particularly the likes of where he came from. Thus, in contributing to the sessional address of 27th January 1995, he said this, and I quote, "So we have to advocate this of government transport organizations such as the City Express, the Omnibus Service Authority, etc., etc. It will lead to improvement in management if the decentralization is done for the district assemblies and municipal assemblies to operate these services. This could also serve as a revenue base for those assemblies and bring increased returns on the government investments because these are loans that are guaranteed by the government and are monies that are lent by government to these people, to these organizations, which must be repaid. They can operate in such a way that they will be able to easily repay these loans whilst making such transport services available to the rural poor." End of quote. the late Honorable MP was very concerned about road safety. His passion about the welfare of the citizenry could be seen in his speech when he supported the motion on the Road Traffic Amendment Regulation 1995. On the day of the debate, he had this to say, Mr. Speaker, and I quote, "Other observation is that re-registration of vehicles will enable us to eradicate the wanton conversion of vehicles for purposes other than for which they were originally registered. For example, the minibuses, which we popularly call urban buses, can come in as vans for carting goods, but they are converted and used to carry passengers. These vehicles are not normally reinforced, especially for the carrying of passengers, but eventually they are used to do that. When accidents occur, the impact is so great that we have deaths and very serious injuries resulting from these accidents. We still have a lot of obsolete regulations pertaining to, for example, pedestrian safety, which we think that the ministry should come out with a legislative instrument to address." Mr. Speaker, end of quote. Mr. Speaker, this is as relevant today as it was in the days when he was here in Parliament. Indeed, we have lost a legend whose memory will leave a mark in the good annals of Ghana, especially for the people of Wa East constituency and the Upper West as a whole. Mr. Speaker, the 40-day Adua for our beloved former legislator is slated for the 20th of November 2022, and all honorable members are invited to join in praying for his departed gentle soul. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant him Jannatul Firdaus. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, honorable member for Wa Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this statement recognizing the former MP for Wa East, who was a member of Parliament for Wa East from 1993 right up to 2005. Mr. Speaker, we knew this man not just as a member of Parliament for Wa East, but also as a member of Parliament unofficially for Wa Central. In all his life, he stayed in Wa Central, and for every single time he lived, he came to stay at home. The number of people who lined up to see him were normally from Wa Central. We know him to be a very kind, amiable gentleman who loved his people and who committed his life to serving them. As a member of Parliament for Wa East, the Speaker, we saw him as somebody who wanted to make a difference. And Wa East was normally compared to Wa Central because of what he brought into his leadership. He was somebody who would go all length to make sure the education of his people was met. He was committed in helping them to achieve the best of anything they are looking for, Mr. Speaker. And I know that in getting water to Wa East, which was very paramount at his time, he worked so hard that he managed to secure sources that were not necessarily government sources to send water to Wa East. And I recall that at a time when he succeeded so well in doing what he wanted to do, huge praises to him, and people were calling on other MPs to do the same. Mr. Speaker, in his life, he served his people. He was so much respected in the Muslim community that at one point he was made the chairman of the Hajj board. And in that role, he did so much. He serviced the people. He engineered so many people who had to go for the pilgrimage. supported them, and sometimes paid for them himself. The Speaker, in doing all this, he created a lot of respect for himself. And in the party he served, the NDC, he created a lot of value in getting people to admire him and to admire the party. East was not necessarily an NDC stronghold, but because of him and everything he did, he secured a lot of support for the party in that place and was able to ensure victory after victory whilst he was a member of Parliament. In his last days, Mr. Speaker, I went to visit him in his house, and I noticed that his sickness was so much in him that he could not function anymore fully as a human being we knew. And it made me to recognize the frailty of our human beings. And as Shakespeare said, the whole world is like a stage, and the men and women mainly come in and exit. And he came in most needed and exited when the need be, when the great Lord wanted him out of the scene. Mr. Speaker, we will only pray for him and pray for his family, who have shown that they can support a man to achieve his objective. I know that his wife, Hajia Fati, was very, very much in support of everything he did, and his kids were committed in receiving anybody who came home to look for him. We'll pray for them and hope that the great Lord will receive him at the best place in heavens, and what the Muslims call Jannat al-Firdaus. And so one day we all live and go there, we'll meet in joyous meetings. The Speaker, we wish him the best and we pray for him. Thank you.
Yes, Sola Tunakaba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to also add my voice to the statement ably made by my honorable colleague. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Alhaji Salia was born in a small village, according to the statement called Mawe. And Mr. Speaker, around the time the late honorable member was the MP, that period I was in a training college in Nasra Jahan Training College. Mr. Speaker, we heard so much about the said honorable member. At that time, we were young students, and we had always wished we should grow up to become like him. Mr. Speaker, I just want to make this statement that it doesn't really matter where you are born. It doesn't really matter where you come from. It doesn't really matter the status of your parents. What you do as an individual is to build your own capacities. What you need to do as an individual is to fight hard. The said member did what he could, despite the fact that he was born in a small village in the Upper West region. He did not just serve the people of East, Mr. Speaker, but he served the people of Upper West, he served the people of the Northern region, he served the people of Ghana very well. And Mr. Speaker, all that we can say is that the good Lord give him a peaceful rest. I thank you once again for allowing me to speak to the statement. God, indeed, should give him a peaceful rest. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Yes, oh, very well, yes.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this statement on the demise of Honourable Alhaji Isaaku Salia, former Member of Parliament for Wais, and the former Regional Minister for the Upper West region. Right Honourable Speaker, Alhaji Idris Salia of late was indeed a trailblazer when it comes to multi-party democracy in the Wais constituency. He was the first MP for the Fourth Republic serving from 1993 to 2005. His human skill, many of the people in Mangwe and beyond describe as skill par excellence. He was a kind of leader who do not sit and direct. He ensures that he leads to the end and provides the results. As the chairman of the Hajj Board, Right Honorable Speaker, there was not a single period of time that he will allow people to go to Mecca without his direct participation. He leads people to Mecca and he brings them back. What he believes is that if he's providing leadership, he should always be there from the beginning and be there at the end. If you go to Mangwe, where I attended the 3-day Adwa, the people of Mangwe and the people of the Wa East constituency are always full of praise for his lifestyle, his humble nature, his approachability. Right Honorable Speaker, the integrity of Alhaji Salia is something that young politicians like us are trying very hard to take after. His wife, Haja Fati, and the children, 70-year-old Honorable MP, leaving this world was quite painful, but they believe what Allah has given, Allah has taken. And it's on this note that all of us together in Mangwe on the Adwa Day prayed very hard that may Allah grant him Jannat al-Firdaus, and may we meet again one day in heaven to congratulate each other, because we came to this world to contribute our quota to national development. Alhaji Idris Salia played his role, and the memories behind are quite encouraging, and all of us will continue to emulate the good part of it and ensure that Ghana becomes a better place. Our democracy continues to develop. It is on this note, Right Honorable Speaker, that I thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Yes. Honorable Member for Zebila.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the late Honorable Isaku Salia was a perfect gentleman and an astute politician. Indeed, he was very quiet and unassuming. Mr. Speaker, I was with him in Navrongo Secondary School in the late 1960s. And that was during our formative period of our lives. After Navrongo School, we were mates in Legon, where he was majoring in political science and I did political science as minor. After our university education, we met in Bolgatanga again, and while he was in the administration, I was with the Upper Regional Development Corporation. Subsequently, he became the managing director of Upper Quarry Limited, a company that was to produce quarry products for the development of the housing industry in the Upper East region. And I was the board chairman of the quarry. Then finally, we met in Parliament here. He represented the Wa East and me at Zebla. So we've known each other for a very long time. And I am very sad that Salia has died at this age, when he's neither too old nor too young, and have contributed to the development of, continue to contribute to the development of this country. He is such an assuming such fellow that, Mr. Speaker, if you don't know him, you might take him for granted. But he is sure of what he does. And then he is competent in the offices that he held. I was living with him in Sakumuno when we started this August house. And he is somebody who was dedicated to his constituency, contributed to the development of the Upper West region, and no wonder he became a regional minister for the Upper West region. Mr. Speaker, he was in this house, and as the honorable member for Wa East, who has made this first statement, said, he contributed immensely to the community development of this August house, particularly the community that he served. He was very outstanding, well outspoken, and he was very knowledgeable and resourceful. It is this person that we are paying tribute today. I wish Salia were still alive, because he has contributed a lot to the development of this country, against the background of the challenges that we are facing in this country. Mr. Speaker, I convey my condolences to the family, particularly his wife, Haja Fati, whom I know very well, and then to the children, and then the constituents of the whole of Upper West region, the North, and Mother Ghana as a whole. May his soul rest in perfect peace. Thank you.
The leadership wish to comment? No?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to add that this, our colleague, was not really known by most of the members in the chamber here today because of one of the attrition rates we have in the House. I mean, if you serve for 3 terms and in less than 2 decades, members in the chamber, you have very few who are familiar with the MP, then you know the kind of challenge that we have as a country. He was a very calm gentleman, as has been reiterated again and again, and very hardworking. As you could see, even as a member of parliament, he was still chairing the Hajj board that organizes Hajj. Mr. Speaker, there's a very sad part of his life that I know many of our colleagues or former colleagues are living it today, which is, Mr. Speaker, for the past 1 year before his death was really very challenging for the family. Healthcare was a real major challenge, and you will not believe it, that a member of parliament who has served for 12 years will be going through the kind of difficulties that he's going through. Mr. Speaker, this reminds me of one of our colleagues, former member Balado, in this chamber said, "Come around you, Biasi, on it is written, yesterday I was like you, tomorrow you'll be like me." When we see former members of parliament growing wretched and having real challenges with healthcare, we should just not laugh and walk away, because it's just awaiting us. And I have said that if for nothing, for medication of former members of parliament and their spouse, it's the least we can do as a parliament for ourselves. Because as they are out there and are having all these challenges, sometimes they go around begging like paupers, and you think that after you, it can't happen to you. Some of them might have even led a better life than you and I who are in the chamber today, but they are confronted with this challenge. We have to take steps, Mr. Speaker, to try to formalize this healthcare issue of former members of parliament. Because, Mr. Speaker, I can tell you for a fact that he went through real challenges before his demise. Today we are paying tribute to him and the work that he has done for this House and for the country. But I can assure you, Mr. Speaker, during his most difficult times, this House was not there for him. If we do not take steps to formalize these things, tomorrow, when it's happening to you and I, definitely this House will not be for us. So I think that as we pay tribute to the dead, we should remember the living, and that is those who are former members of parliament and currently going through all manner of challenges, especially with their health. And with our clinic and with Parliamentary Service Board, I am that we are capable of at least providing health care for our former colleagues and their spouses. On this note, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that may Allah forgive him, may Jannat be his final abode, and may his family be strengthened in these most difficult times. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to a statement.
Very well. That brings us to the end of statement time. I will revert to item 5, urgent questions. The Honourable Minister for Agric. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before the Minister comes to answer questions, you know our tradition. Yes, I know it starts with the 3 urgent questions. The other questions...
Honourable, sorry, something is missing. It is our practice that when we make a statement on a deceased member, yes, we observe a minute silence. That is it. So, honourable members, shall we observe a minute silence in honor of our deceased? May the soul of our departed colleague and all the faithful departed rest in eternal peace. Amen. Yes, Honorable Chief Whip, can you repeat what you are saying?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was drawing your attention to the questions advertised for the Minister for Agri to answer. Our practice is that the urgent questions are not advertised. The answers are not advertised. But the ordinary questions, about 6 of them, the answers were supposed to be advertised. I am reliably informed by the clerk at table that since yesterday, they've been chasing the Minister of Agri to get these answers, and the answers were not provided. Mr. Speaker, I want to plead with you that the answers that the Minister has should be taken from you whilst he's answering the urgent question, so that it's be run and then shared and distributed, so that we can follow the answers as he answers them. Because other than that, it will be very difficult to follow the answers as he reads them. So I will plead that whilst he's going through the agent questions, the answers that he's holding should be run and distributed for members. And hope that the Minister will also take steps to ensure that before he comes to answer questions, he will make sure that his ministry do the rightful thing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. The table office advises me that they have received the answers and they are already processing it. So, shall we proceed with the urgent questions while they are processing an addendum to the order paper, please? So, item 5, urgent questions. A. In the name of the Honourable Member for Gumua East, Mr. Desmond de Graaf Peter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Food and Agriculture measures the ministry intend to adopt or have adopted to improve on food security in the country. Thank you.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Wasn't not intentional.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the FAO establishes 4 pillars of food security, namely availability, accessibility, utilization, and stability. Using these pillars as a basis for assessing the status of Ghana's food security, there is no question that Ghana is more than food secure. Food availability. Mr. Speaker, since the rollout of government flagship program Planting for Food and Jobs in April 2017, data and physical evidence amply attest to a consistent and enhanced food security status of the country. At the very outset, the PFJ campaign signaled a very high premium placed on food security by government. This explains why the food crop module of Planting for Food and Jobs was the first to be outdoored. Strategically, the module was targeted at addressing the issue of low productivity and low growth that had characterized the food sector. An objective diagnosis of revealed that yields of staples such as maize and root tuber was between 40 and 45% of potential yields in 2016. Equally distressing was the fact that only 11 to 15% of food crop farmers used improved seed and fertilizers. Fertilizer application was also at a low 8 kilograms per hectare, and the source is the International Fertilizer Development Corporation, compounded by poor extension service delivery due to a low extension farmer ratio of 1 extension officer to 1,908 farmers in 2016. Given that the FAO recommended ratio is 1 extension officer to 500 farmers, the situation was undesirable and amounted to a call to action. Mr. Speaker, it was to address this problem that the government introduced the input subsidy program for farmers in 2017 under the food crops module of Planting for Food and Jobs. The outcome of that intervention has been remarkable. From an initial 202,000 farmers in 2017, a total of 1.65 million farmers are currently participating in the PFJ campaign and benefiting from subsidized input of improved seeds and fertilizers. This has accounted for statistical increases in yields of our staples since 2017 to date. Using 2016 as a baseline, available data on yields of key staples are as follows. And the Speaker, I don't want to go into all the detail, but it will be available. For instance, the food crop sector, the growth from 22.2% when we took over. This increased in 2017 to 7.2%, and then in 2018 to 5.8%, 2019 5.3%, and 2020 8.6%, and 2021 8.9%, compared to the national growth of the economy. When it comes to the crops, in 2016, the average yield of maize was only 1.7 metric tons per hectare. 2021 last year, the national average had jumped to 4 metric tons per hectare. Rice was 2.7 metric tons per hectare. 2021, it had risen to 6 metric tons per hectare. Soya bean was 1.7 metric tons per hectare in 2016. By 2021, it had reached 3.0 metric tons per hectare. Sorghum, 1.1, had gone up almost double to 2 metric tons per hectare by 2021. Government, in its quest to modernize agriculture, deemed it necessary to strengthen the Agricultural Extension Directorate of the Ministry. As a result, 2,700 additional extension officers were recruited in 2017, improving Ghana's extension farmer ratio to 1.71 to 708. In addition, 3,367 motorbikes and 304 vehicles had been procured to support extension delivery in the country. The Speaker, interventions under different modules of the Planting for Food and Jobs program are designed to strengthen Ghana's food security status. These are the mechanization module. The government, through the Ministry has also established 3 greenhouse villages at Dawinya, Bodjase, and Akomadan to promote investment in horticulture. Over 500 youth graduates who excelled during the training at these centers have benefited from paid internship program in Israel. The idea is to encourage entrepreneurship in agribusiness, especially among the youth and women upon their return to Ghana. Mr. Speaker, there's also the livestock development module branded Rearing for Food and Jobs. This is designed to support farmers in the animal sector. The program is ongoing with the distribution of layer bears, broilers, day-old chicks, and small ruminants to farmers across the country. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, there are complementary interventions by government contributing to enhance food security, including the construction of 80 warehouses to address problems of post-harvest losses, irrigation development, plant health and regulation, and the establishment of a grain development authority mandated to regulate and maximize earnings from the grain sector, where Ghana has enormous comparative advantage. Mr. Speaker, under irrigation, the government of Ghana is financing the development of 12 schemes, currently at various stages of completion. 7 out of the schemes are between 70 and 100% complete, while the remaining 5 schemes range from a completion level of 5 to 57%. Together, these irrigation schemes will make available 1,451 hectares for all year-round crop production when completed. Mr. Speaker, the intervention outlined demonstrates beyond reasonable doubt that not only is Ghana food secure, but also, and perhaps more importantly, there are pipeline projects, the completion of which will ensure resilient food systems of the country and sustainable food security in the future. Food accessibility. Mr. Speaker, food accessibility in Ghana is also more than satisfactory in recent times. Price hikes of food commodities in the urban centers, particularly in Accra, is creating an enormous impression that food has become inaccessible. I have just returned from a tour of regions in southern belt of the country, and Mr. Speaker, I can assure you that prices in the urban Accra are a far cry from what obtains in particular production centers in the regions. Many attribute the high increase in the cost of fuel and transportation. Whereas this may be true to some extent, our analysis at the ministry reveal that it is over-exaggerated. Accordingly, government and the ministry on its own is arranging to transport food from the production centers directly to Accra to provide food at reasonable prices to the public and the workers. Food utilization. In terms of food utilization, Mr. Speaker, Ghana annually experiences a lot of waste and surpluses. To address these problems, government is constructing 8 warehouses across the country. They have almost been completed and are about to be handed over to us at the ministry. Inviting private sector participation in the management of the warehouse facilities. An advert to that effect has been put in the newspapers, expression of that from the private sector. Food stability. Mr. Speaker, interventions by government in the last 5 years has clearly laid a solid foundation for sustainable food availability, accessibility, utilization, and stability, even in times of major adversity. Food production has been constituent, ensuring that needed stability and resilience that every country needs to survive. This has been made possible through the sound and pragmatic policy of government, and all of us should support ongoing effort to build a strong food sector that ensures self-reliance, value addition, and a needed linkage to industry. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, government's investment towards national food security within the space of 5 years from 2017, I dare say, is unparalleled in the history of this country. I thank you for your attention.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, thank you for your answers that you provide. And then you highlighted on the food accessibility, availability, utilization, and the stability. But in your presentation, you made mention of food accessibility in Accra. Would like to know from you, other parts of the country, what is likely to be the food accessibility over there? If you know, can you tell us something about it? Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think the problem is more acute in Accra. That's why I mentioned Accra. But you go to places like Cape Coast, Takoradi, Kumasi, and to a lesser extent, Tamale, the same phenomenon applies. And as I said, I just come back from 5 regions in the southern forest belt, and it's very clear when you are there. There's a lot of food, including in Zama area. Yes, but then when you come to the cities, the Member of Parliament for Bodi, my good friend, Mr. Speaker, who attests to the fact I was in his town only last week. The price of a bunch of plantain, Mr. Speaker, was only 6-7 cities. And yet, when it comes to the capital, Serioso, it's 12 cities. Just from Bodi to Serioso, the price doubles. And of course, when it gets to Accra, it's something else. The disparity between prices in the producing areas, the same thing from Oti. I was there, I came back on Sunday night. Dambai, you can get a yam, a tube of yam, the Speaker, for only 6 cities. And yes, and you get to Accra, and it's 24 cities. So these are the kind of disparities between food prices in the producing areas and the big towns and cities like Accra and Takoradi. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Minister, thank you for your answer. Would like to know from you just answers that you gave, mention the food prices in so many other places. Some are 24, some are others that is going high. Is it likely that we are going to have a food insecurity situation that will deteriorate the country in future to come, as compared to your answers given? And what do you have to say about that? Thank you.
Honorable, I'm not sure I understood your question. Can you clarify it, please?
Okay. Minister, I'm asking, per your answer given, as the prices goes up and down that you are talking, and then I'm asking, is it likely that we are going to have food insecurity in the country, whereby there is going to be a shortage of food? And then, are you aware of that? And if you are aware, what measures have you taken to, prevent that or to meet that before it gets to hand?
Honorable, your whole question was on food security. And all the answer the minister gave was to respond to that question. So if you have any specific area of clarity you want, kindly pick it out. But otherwise, everything he has said was in answer to the same question.
Speaker, I think he understands what I'm asking him. So if you can kindly let him answer, it will be the best interest of me.
Unfortunately, I have to admit
He understands what I'm asking him. So if you can, let him answer. I want to hear from him the plans you have to solve.
Unfortunately, I have to admit the question before he answers. And I say the question is a repetition of the answer and the question you asked, which he has answered. If you have no more, I'll allow other members to ask the question. Honourable Member, are you done? Are you done, or do you have another follow-up question? You're done. Very well.
Honourable Speaker, I'm done.
Thank you very much. Honourable Member for Medina.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I'm asking this question because of the price disparity that the Minister alluded to. Indeed, when you come to Medina market and most of the major markets around Medina, prices of goods are really, really, really high. But it's really good and comforting to know that in the producer communities, prices are relatively low. So what is the ministry doing to bridge this gap between prices in the producing communities and prices in the cities. Thank you.
Honourable Minister. Yes, did you hear his question? Please answer.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, the difference in the prices cannot be accounted for by transport, because in each of the regions I went to, the presentation by the regional directors of agriculture on food price analysis consistently the same. If you include transport, you include handling, local collections, and then all the way to Accra, you consistently get maybe 1/3. Whether it's maize, it's soya, it's plantain, it's yam, that's the magnitude. So transport alone cannot account for such a huge doubling or even tripling of the prices. And this is why the ministry is taking the suggestion of the Western North Regional Director that they should help at the farm gate to collect produce and bring it to my office at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture for the civil servants to benefit from the huge gap between the two. And we are actually taking this advice from them, and we are going to start next week to experiment that, and we see how it goes. Thank you.
Yes. And the man first.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the minister's answer, it was very, very clear that, as he explained, the reasons for the disparity in prices between the urban centers, especially Accra, and the producing areas, has to do with the cost of fuel and transportation. Well, that's probably the reason. You did not give us the reasons why this disparity. You are saying that it should be about 1/3. You did not tell us that the Minister of Agric has not been able to tell the people of Ghana why this huge. Can the minister tell us what are the sources of these big gaps? What are the reasons for this big disparity between the producing center and the city? What are the reasons?
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, as I mentioned, I'm saying that the transportation cost, which is taken by the regional directors in their calculations, between the centers of production and places like Accra, Takoradi, Cape Coast, Kumasi, that includes the transportation cost. And with that transportation cost included, which is what is actually charged by the transporters themselves, you still have a disparity of 1/2 to 1/3 difference between the two locations. Well, I mean, that is something that we have to investigate. But the major items of cost is to do with local assemblage from the farm gate into centers where with Motor King and so on and so forth, and then the handling of the produce onto the trucks, for the trucks to travel all the way to Accra, Kumasi, and so on, and Takoradi, for it to be discharged. So if you take account of all that, we are saying that the cost, the price between the farm gate and the consuming centers, the big consuming centers, is about 1/2 or less than 1/2. Now, some are speculating that the marketeers are making supernormal profit. That is something that has to be looked at. But we haven't gone there. What we are actually looking at is actual cost in terms of the price breakdown between the farm gate and the consuming centers like Medina and Makola and so on. And these prices we collect all the time. Our staff are always in the markets reporting to us the retail prices that are pertaining in these markets compared to what is in the producing areas. So your guess is as good as mine. Some are saying it's the market women who are making supernormal profits. Some are saying it's traders, but I definitely know with this analysis that it's not transportation, because transportation is included in the calculations that my regional directors of agriculture have given me as the cost from the farm gate all the way to Accra. And then there's this huge difference in prices when it goes to the retail level. Thank you.
Honorable Ahi, then I'll give you an opportunity, don't worry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Minister for Food and Agri, who said that I'm his friend, visited the body recently, and in comparing the price disparities at the villages and then the rural, the urban centers, body and yours, so for instance, you mentioned different set of prices. Now, if you look at the cash crop center, the sector with regard to cocoa, because there is a regulatory body, there is price guarantee for cocoa farmers. So irrespective of where cocoa is produced, the same price is applied. Would your ministry consider a mechanism for crop production or respect to, food production pricing, so that whatever plantain or yam or cassava or cocoa yam is produced, farmers
That's the question.
Price guaranteed so that they are not cheated irrespective of the environment that they find themselves. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Minister, did you hear the question? I heard commentary. I'm not sure which question there was.
Mr. Speaker, I've asked a simple question, which is that a mechanism for price if you look at the cocoa sector, because there is price guarantee for cocoa farmers. Farmers, irrespective of whatever they produce cocoa, are not cheated. The same price. And I'm asking the minister whether his ministry will consider a price guarantee system for food crops production, so that plantain or cassava or cocoa yam won't produce, irrespective of where they are produced, because they will be price guaranteed. The farmers will benefit. Farmers will benefit from this concept of price guarantee. Will your minister consider that?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I know that my friend has a very soft spot for me, and his suggestion is a brilliant one. It will be considered. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I just want to know from the minister. He only cited a tuber of yam as being priced at 6 cedis at the farmer's end and 25 cedis in the city. And he said he's gone around all the regions. I want to know what kind of foodstuffs he's going to bring to his office to sell. Because he said he's setting up a market center at his office.
Your answer must relate to the question. This, we should do it outside Parliament. Yes, Honorable Bogu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a very important question for all of us because it borders on food security. And in the minister's answer, he indicated that food security means availability of food, affordability, and so on and so forth. My interest is in availability and affordability. And the minister cited examples using plantain and then yams. Mr. Speaker, these are food crops that are produced seasonally. And the problem we have is that we don't have storage facilities to store some of this produce. Now, when you talk about food security, you are talking about availability, you are looking at sufficiency, you are looking at affordability, and so on. Now, if at this season we have plantain in abundance, what is the guarantee that in the lean season we are going to have the same plantain? And that is why I'm saying that it is important, because
you are now making a question. Can you ask your question?
No.
He's laying the foundation.
He's laying the foundation to ask the question. He's laying the so, foundation. Mr. Speaker, what? And security, we are looking at availability and affordability at all. And that's why I'm asking the minister, what specific mechanisms has his ministry taken to ensure availability of food and affordability of food in the city centers the whole year? Because as you speak, we spend over 2 billion on the import of food into this country.
Honorable Ranking Member of Agri, the question the minister was to answer was food, to ask the Minister for Food and Agriculture the measures the ministry intends to adopt in the future or have adopted currently to improve food security. How is that different from the question you're asking? And all he read included warehousing. I listened to all that. You probably were not paying attention, but your question has been answered. Yes, Honorable Entuso.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I heard the minister say that a tuber of yam costs 6 Ghana cedis at Dambai. I returned from the constituency just last week. May I know from the speaker, what size of yam are you talking about? That costs 6 cedis.
Yes, Honorable Minister, what size of yam is 6 cedis?
Mr. Speaker, I know that the Honourable Member of Parliament comes very close to the area of Dambai, so she should know the size of the yam. It's average size. And if you ask me what an average size is, I would have to go and weigh a sample of various sizes to be able to tell you the kilograms for medium size, small size, and the large size. So I cannot answer the question now. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Jassau.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Floor. I mentioned the name of Honorable Jassau. You moved from where you were sitting. That's why I didn't recognize you, because I thought I'll come to you, but you were not there. Yes, Honorable Jassau.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the Minister in his response said so much on availability, accessibility, and utilization. Earlier this year in March, the Minister was here to give responses to questions that complained about challenges with input availability, particularly fertilizers. You were here again in July and complained same about payment of fertilizer suppliers and so on. This presupposes that the inputs to crop production was challenged. How has that impacted on food segment?
Yes. Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to answer my honorable member's question. We all know that Ghana does not produce inorganic fertilizer, so we rely on the import market. And we know the disturbances that have been called to the global market for fertilizer, inorganic fertilizer, especially NPKs. What this ministry is doing is to encourage the application of organic fertilizer, like poultry droppings and animal droppings mixed with other things for the farmers to spread under their crops. And Mr. Speaker, I'm glad to say the information, the data that I've collected on my very recent trip tours to 5 regions clearly show that farmers are responding very swiftly to the adaptation of organic fertilizer, both chemical spray and capsules and other things. The amount, the quantity of organic fertilizer farmers have applied in this current year far exceeds those of previous years. In some cases, by magnitude of 5 times, 10 times. And that is very, very encouraging. So that is the way we are handling the shortage of global fertilizer, or inorganic fertilizer. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my question is simple to the Minister. He has admitted right here that the traders are making supernormal profits. So it is intentional. Him, as a sector minister who represents the government, what is he going to do about this within the chain of distribution of the food products in the country? As a minister who represents the government, what are you going to do? Because you said that it is intentional that they are making supernormal profits. Thank you.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think I'm being misquoted here, seriously. I didn't say that speculation. I said that when you take the actual costs from the farm gate, how much the farmer is paid, the collection, the transportation, the handling, packing, transportation to Accra or Tamale or Takoradi, the price, the figure you get is multiples of what retailers are paying. And there are speculation that it could be due to some traders making supernormal profits. That is what I said. So it's a misquotation to say that I pointed accusing fingers to anyone. It's something that has to be investigated. But in terms of price formation analysis, there's nothing to justify the doubling or tripling of retail price of food in the major cities. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker.
No. Honourable Member from Memphi West, you are done. Can you take your seat, please?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my question is on Minister, the irrigation projects that government is putting in place. Mr. Minister, can you kindly give us the regional breakdowns of the irrigation facilities you are putting up? Thank you.
Of what facilities?
Irrigation facilities. He mentioned in his statement, you mentioned in your statement that government is putting up irrigation facilities and some are 70% to 100% complete. So I'm asking if you could give us the regional breakdowns, the locations of those irrigation facilities.
I suggest that you file your own question. As for details of as a follow-up question is outside a follow-up question. Yes, available leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the Minister's answer to a substantive question, he mentioned that there was supernormal profit by traders. We want to find out from them, as a speculation, we want to find out from the Minister what measures is he taking as part of intersectoral collaboration for us to get the prices down. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, there's another friend asking a question. I've got lots of friends on the other side. I didn't put my finger on it, that is speculation. I'm saying that the elements which form a price, if you put it all together, there are about 6 variables, which should be the figure that retailers should be paying. But they are paying twice, sometimes 3 times that. So it's something that we need to look at, because it's we have to get to the bottom of it. I mean, some are saying, oh, the bad roads and high fuel prices, all kinds of things. But the price that is charged, the transporters charge, includes everything, their risk, spare parts and all that. So that cannot explain this huge increase. But definitely, we know from my very recent visit, last week, this time I was in the bush, talking to farmers and all those the other stakeholders. And it is clear that there's a huge gap, which is unusually high. Consumers are paying unusually high prices for the food, considering what is paid to the farmers. Yes. So it's something that we need to, we have to look at. And we are going to look at it to see what we can do. But in the meantime, we are using our facilities at the ministry as a point of market, so that those from the plantain from Bodi can come to the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, and then will be charged at the price as we know it should be, and that should be what we want to do. Thank you.
Very well. I'll move on to the next. Question number 5B. The name of the honourable member for Keta, Takwame Jujoli Jakpe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask the Minister for Food and Agriculture what measures the ministry is instituting to avert bacterial black spot, BBS, disease affecting mango farmers and forcing them out of business.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the BBS, as we call it in the trade, bacterial black spot, is caused by a bacterium known as Xanthomonas campestris, Citri PV mangiferae indica, as BBS. BBS has remained one of the most destructive diseases of mango worldwide. The bacterium is present on mango trees and enter into fruits through holes called lenticles. Mr. Speaker, the disease pathogens are dispersed by infected planting materials, infected tracks with the disease organisms on farms, infected mango leaves using the inside of trays, infected trails, wind-driven infected raindrops, infected pruning tools, man and animal hands and clothing if infected, irrigation water and all water used for mixing chemicals if contaminated with the bacterium, contact between the canopy and foliage of trees or where there is tree-to-tree contact, natural openings on leaves, stomata and fruit lenticles, exposed and fruit surfaces. Mr. Mr. Speaker, the management of BBS instituted by the Ministry of Food and Agriculture aims, among other things, at encouraging good cultural practices such as orchard sanitation and pruning to reduce inoculum levels of the bacteria, encouraging and creating awareness on area-wide disease management in mango farms, using healthy planting materials from nurseries, purchasing all seedlings from certified nursery dealers, and making sure that the dealer is aware of BBS nursery management procedure. Others include encouraging farmers to use recommended copper-based fungicides after pruning, the application of copper plus mancozeb sprays to ensure that all wounds and crevices are covered, pruning after harvest, and a spray regime of 2 or 3 weeks interval to effectively reduce the incidence of BBS, regular scouting for early detection, and finally, application of 1 or 2 post-harvest copper sprays to cover the post-harvest flush and tail end of the rainy season for effective reduction in the inoculum pressure the following season. So, Speaker, the Ministry will increase farmer awareness of BBS, equip farmers, extension agents, quarantine officers, and plant doctors for early detection and effective management of the disease. Our strategy will include carrying out trials in selected farmer mango fields with some of the registered fungicides to confirm the fungicides to other farmers. Training manuals will also be developed to improve extension services delivery as part of the management of the disease. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, regular monitoring of the disease will be ensured to manage and effectuate the spread on mango farms. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Member, please ask your follow-up question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to find out from the Minister, because this disease actually will sweep through mango farmers losing their mango. Is there any initiative put in place or package put in place by the Ministry in terms of compensation to farmers whose mangoes are lost through this disease?
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, if every farmer were to be compensated for loss of crop because of disease, then the whole budget of the government of Ghana will be spent on farmers. It's not a policy of this government to compensate farmers for loss of crop because of the practices that they carry out. So there's no intention on the part of this government to compensate farmers for loss of mango due to BBS. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. I would like to find out from the Minister what measures are put in place in terms of certified seedlings, which or any research going on in terms of resistance to this disease. Is there any research going on to come up with hybrid of mango that will resist this disease?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is for the area of research, and research on crops and other agricultural products belongs to the Ministry of Environment and Technology. They are in charge of CSR operations in the country, and I'm sure that the disease is causing enough loss to farmers for the scientists of CSR to investigate coming up with trees resistant to BBS. But as I indicated earlier, it's a global phenomenon. I mean, it doesn't only affect tropical areas; it affects all over the country, all over the world. And I'm sure scientists somewhere, I'm not aware of here in Ghana, but I'm sure some scientists are working to get a variety which will be resistant, and that will actually help farmers in Ghana as well. Thank you.
Yes, we have one more opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to find out from the Minister what steps are being taken in terms of educating the farmers as well as those who are producers also. Is there any step by the Ministry?
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Ministry is very much aware of the damage the BBS is causing, especially in the enclave of Krobo and some areas in the Bono and Bono East regions. And it's a big concern. So, of course, our extension officers are working along with the farmers to carry out these processes that I've mentioned in terms of spraying, the timing of spraying, the frequency of spraying, what type of chemicals to use, and all of that. Our extension officers are working alongside the farmers to ensure that the damage done by BBS is to the minimum. Thank you.
Very well, yes.
Mr. Speaker, just to find out from the Minister if government, apart from the support given to these farmers, is government also giving them any financial support for the losses that they've made so far? Thank you.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, not at the moment. In fact, the last time I met the Growers Association, they were suggesting that maybe government should subsidize the chemical. But the discussion hasn't concluded. So it's something that is being looked at. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, Otafu, yeah.
In March this year, the West African Competitive Program supported the government of Ghana to train about 20 agric officers and about 48 mango farmers in the Shire Usulu district. This was geared towards educating farmers on plant disease control and safe handling of agrochemicals. I want to find out from the Minister if the Ministry is having any intention of replicating this in other districts.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
We do, Mr. Speaker, we do in-house training for our extension officers, for our district directors of agriculture, for our regional directors, and for our own directors at headquarters. That is the human capacity building. So it's all part of our schedule to ensure that the experts working in the ministry are up to date with modern practices and so on. So it's very much part of it. Thank you.
Yes. Ranking member, please ask a question, not a comment.
Mr. Speaker, can the Minister share with us the number of farmers who have been affected and losses occasioned by the outbreak of the disease?
Honourable Minister, do you have that data?
Mr. Speaker, I don't have the answer. Thank you.
You're experienced enough to know that such details must be asked for specifically. I think you have had one opportunity. If there's no other person, I'll move on to the next question, please. 5C. Honourable Member for Adjustment, Master, you may ask your question now. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have the permission of the Honourable Member to ask his question. I'm seeking your leave to do so.
Very well, you may proceed.
Thank you. I rise to ask the Minister for Food and Agriculture what steps the ministry is taking to bring down the high cost of food production in order to avert food shortages in the country. Thank you.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think we spent enough time this morning talking about price formation and cost elements which go into determination of prices and the gap that has widened between prices in the producing areas and in the urban centers. And I'm sure that honourable member was very much part of the discussion. Admittedly, there has been significant increase in the cost of food production in recent times. This has culminated in high food prices at our markets during 2021-2022. The main factors accounting for the high cost of food production are global inflation and its impact on imported inputs such as fertilizers, seeds, weedicides, etc. Another major factor, the Russian-Ukraine conflict, has contributed to the trend of rising prices of inputs, which started at the peak of the COVID in 2020. The Speaker, prices of inorganic fertilizer, for instance, has spiked over 300% on the local market. During the period mentioned, it is important to emphasize that almost all the inorganic fertilizer used in Ghana are imported. It is worth noting that prices of fertilizer have increased significantly due to the disruption of supply chains, high freight charges, and global inflation. Substantial increases in prices of inputs, in most cases, is beyond the reach of majority smallholder farmers, raising concerns about projection for food crops under the PFJ. The ministry is deeply concerned about this development and is taking steps to mitigate the impact on food production. These measures include, in 2022 cropping season, farm inputs such as improved seeds and fertilizers have been sold to smallholder farmers at subsidized prices under the PFJ. Interested farmers have accessed these subsidy inputs at various retail outlets. Provision of pesticides for fall armyworm control. One of the most destructive pests threatening the cultivation of maize in Ghana is a fall armyworm pest. Maize farmers have had to spray 3 or 4 times within the production cycle of 90 days to avert significant losses. This comes as additional cost to the farmer. Consequently, MOFA has since 2017 procured and distributed pesticides to farmers free of charge to control the ravaging effects of fall armyworm. Intervention has ensured stability in the production of maize to date. Provision of extension services to farmers through agricultural extension agents. Farmers across the country are exposed to improved agricultural technology such as row planting, improved seeds, hybrid seeds, maize seeds, and fertilizers. These technologies have helped farmers a great deal by enhancing crop productivity and making farming profitable. Mr. Speaker, in a significant way, the intervention mentioned above have helped to minimize the adverse impact of external shocks on production costs of farming in Ghana. It is a threat to food insecurity. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, the Minister in his answer indicate global inflation, which has impacted on inputs price. Is the minister considering reviewing the percentage subsidy on agricultural machinery, which is one of the costs associated with agricultural inputs? Is he considering reviewing the percentage subsidy from the 40%, possibly back to the 60% as it used to be prior to 2017?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, 40% subsidy is quite substantial. You know, Mr. Speaker, there are two countries that we have a relationship with when it comes to supply of farm machinery. One is Brazil, and the other is India. It is yet to kick in. We just taken delivery of the last batch of machinery from Brazil. This is based on a loan that we have taken from the Brazilian government. I think it's $95 million, and the machinery have been delivered in three tranches. The last tranche is we're actually moving machinery from the port as we speak, as the last tranche. So we have to pay back these sums of money. And we think that 40% is quite generous. In fact, in some cases, when it comes to power tillers, London, 1 unit of power tiller at the port of Tema is over 100,000 cedis. But we've dropped the price steadily to only 18,000 cedis. I mean, we couldn't have it better than that. That's nearly 82% subsidy. So where we feel there's a need to drop the price, we go to Cabinet to get permission to do so. But as we speak, the standard is 40%, and we have no intention of reducing it any further. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, the minister talked about supply of subsidized inputs to smallholder farmers in 2022 crop season. But this input seems not to be available to the farmers who need it the most. Can the minister give indication to us what other measures he is putting in place to make sure that these inputs get to the farmers who need it the most?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we've tried all kinds of methods. Farmer groups are given the opportunity to own these machinery. Commercial farmers are also given the same opportunity. And indeed, district assemblies, some district assemblies have benefited. 2018, we gave 31 district assemblies the agricultural mechanization centers, the AMSECs, and we're expecting them to pay. Up to today, not a penny has been paid by the district assemblies. And as I said, this is a loan that the people of Brazil has given to the people of Ghana, and we have to pay back. So we are limited in terms of the target groups that we can give these facilities to. They have to have the capacity to pay back so that the government of Ghana can honor its obligation to its foreign partners. So that is a very important arrangement. The ministry's budget is not limitless. So we have a limited amount of money that we have to run the ministry with. And it cannot be that every farmer can receive a machinery service, because we don't have enough money to import, and we don't manufacture the major machineries here in Ghana, tractors, power tillers, and so on. We have to import. So we are doing the best we can, and we are reaching as many farmers as we can, so long as they come in groups registered, coming through the ministry, the directorate, the district directors of agriculture, and then to the regional directors, and then refer to us with their recommendations. We'll look at the applications which come in. Thank you.
You have done your 3 post questions. You've done 2. Very well. You can take your last one.
Thank you very much. Speaker, my last question was actually to do with inputs like fertilizer, seeds, and what have you. But the minister was talking about machinery. And I thought he would even say something about the farmer service centers, even if everybody cannot acquire some. What is the ministry doing about the farmer service center? But I want to find out about the inputs, talking about here fertilizer. Are the donkeys still smuggling the fertilizer out of the country, or is being kept in here to be used by our farmers? Thank you.
Yes, Honorable. What is it about donkeys and struggling or smuggling? What is it?
Mr. Speaker, I'll ask the honorable member to come again, because I don't understand his question. Thank you.
Yes, what is it that you mean by donkeys smuggling?
Well, Mr. Speaker, it has been reported that the minister alleged that donkeys are involved
Honorable member, you know that there are languages that are not admissible in the House. I thought it was a term of art. That's why I allowed the question. But please reframe your question.
No, that donkeys are like means of transporting the fertilizer, and that nobody follows them. They load it. So I'm only asking whether
Honorable, reported. When it is here, it is brought here, we will use it here. But if it is reported, I will not admit it here. So I said, reframe your question, please.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's reported that the minister appeared before a committee and gave this indication that, Public Accounts Committee, and I'm a member. When he appeared there, we asked him that question. So I'm asking whether the donkeys are still involved in the smuggling
Anybody
of
else
fertilizer.
want to ask a question? Yes.
Thank you for the opportunity. Right, Honorable Speaker. In the minister's response to one of the questions asked by Honorable Adams, you answered that government has no intention of reducing the subsidy on fertilizer nor general equipment for farming. Mr. Minister, are you happy to tell us that government has no intention? 2, we expect you, or I personally expect you to come here to say that you will continue to push. May I know my last question from you? Are you satisfied with your performance as the Agri Minister?
Yeah. Honorable member, do you have another question? You know that questions are supposed to... Well, it appears that you have to learn the rules a little more. So it may take some time to recognize you again. Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker, there's a practice in this House that if you are not available to respond or ask your own questions, it's only the person who asks the question. No, it is that no other person apart from the one who asked the question on behalf of the original question can. There is a practice. There is that practice. I've been in this House long enough to know that there is that practice. He has asked his question, and I think we should continue with the next question. Thank you.
It's all right. The request is brought to my attention. Honorable Leader, the rule is that when the question is a constituency-specific question, then we don't allow people from outside the constituency to do follow-up. But these are general questions, so the practice is we allow a number of members to contribute. Yes, Honorable Burma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, kindly may I refer you to Order 67I, which reads, a question shall not be asked on the character or conduct of person whose conduct may only be challenged on a substantive motion. Mr. Speaker, my colleague Oforiwa is seeking to know from the Honorable Minister his performance as a minister, which is totally unrelated to the question that you admitted, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if I may finish, you asked my honorable colleague to resume her seat. It has to be withdrawn and expunged because it has no correlation with the question that the honorable minister is on the floor to ask. Thank you.
Thank you. That's why I overruled it. I declined to admit it. So it's not a question that will be in the records. It was not admitted. I'll give the last one to Honorable Joseph and I'll move on. Yes.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. The Minister in his response mentioned as part of the measures to reduce costs of production, subsidies that have been given to inputs, i.e. improved seeds and fertilizers. Honorable Minister, the percentage of subsidy appears to be varying on our records. What is the exact subsidy percentage that you granted for fertilizer and improved seeds as inputs this year?
Where does it come into this?
Yes, it does, Mr. Speaker.
Can I ask you the question before you answer?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
To ask the Minister what steps the Ministry is taking to bring down high cost of food production in order to avoid food shortages. If you have any question, it should be related to the answer emanating from this one.
Right, Honorable Speaker, that's exactly so. Minister in his response mentioned subsidies to inputs as part of the measures that he has put in place to reduce the cost of production. So my question is, what is the exact percentage of the subsidy that was offered for improved seeds and fertilizer for this year? Thank you.
Honorable Minister, yes, they have a percentage.
Mr. Speaker, the subsidies range from 15 to 90%, depending upon the input. So it's difficult for me to go through all the inputs. I don't have the figures here with me. Thank you.
Very well. Who? Okay, I think your beard and your hat. It's very well. Yes, I said I'll give the last one to Joseph, but I'll hear you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I wish to find out from the Minister, given the question, the nature of the question, which was a double-barrel question, I want to find out from the Minister what specific steps the Ministry has taken in consultation with Extension officers and the CSIR in ensuring that the cost of production, as the question stipulated, is reduced for farmers. And on food security, I want to know from the Minister the specific role.
Honorable, you are entitled to one.
Mr. Speaker, is the question, the nature of the question. That's why I said the nature of the question. The nature of the question and the minister's answer is just.
You are entitled to one question. Choose one. Which one you?
Yeah. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to find out the specific steps and the specific role. With steps, I want to find the specific steps that the ministry has taken with extension officers and CSRI to reduce cost of production and the specific role of buffer stock in ensuring that prices are stabilized as the vision behind the establishment of buffer stock. Thank you.
Honorable Minister, what specific steps have you taken with extension officers to reduce production cost?
The Speaker, there are no steps taken for extension officers and CSR to reduce cost of production. CSR is under a different ministry. They come under the Ministry of MESTE, Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology. We don't have any collaboration with them in the field as far as the farmer is concerned. What we take from them are the products of their research to improve productivity on the farm, and the extension officer is supposed to work with the farmer in that regard. So that is what I can tell the Honourable Member of Parliament. When it comes to the second part of the question, which is, I think there were two questions. The buffer stock. Buffer stock is not in the business of buying. At the moment, they are limited to buying for the school feeding program, and that is their activity in terms of intervening in the market will be taken up by the Grains Development Authority, which bill is before this Parliament for consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honourable Minister, we are done with the urgent question. I am done with the urgent questions. I am moving on to but before I move on to questions 942, kindly permit me to suspend the House for 5 minutes. I will revert.
Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, enough members, for the patience. Now, item 6, questions. The first one is in the name of the honorable member for Prestia Huni Valley. Question number 942. Mr. Robert Wisdom Kujo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Food and Agriculture which organizations and individuals in the cocoa processing business benefited from the Cocoa Board's secured revolving capital of $200 million as stated in paragraph 694 of the 2022 budget statement and economic policy of government.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, no domestic cocoa processing company or business has benefited from the revolving capital of $200 million United States dollars secured for Cocoa Board. The undrawn balance of $250 million US dollars of the $600 million African Development Bank Credit Suisse 7-year loan facility that includes the $200 million revolving capital has been cancelled due to the following reasons. 1. Uncertainty with crop forecast. Actual cocoa production was 1,047,385 metric tons for the 2021-2022 crop year. This production volume enabled additional drawdown to arrive at a cumulative drawn amount of $350 million United States dollars by 12 August 2021. A forecast of 918,000 metric tons was projected for the 2021-22 crop year at the beginning of the season in October 2021. However, extreme dry weather conditions has led to a revision of the crop outlook to 821,000 metric tons and corollary scaling back of the drawdown on the 2021-2022 annual syndicated facility. An amount of $1.45 billion US dollars out of the signed amount of $1.5 billion of 2021-2022 annual facility was drawn due to the downward revision of the crop. The same reason informed the decision to cancel the undrawn balance on the long-term facility. 2. Unfavorable price. Cocoa prices took a tumble on the international market following the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic. The low prices persisted throughout 2020. Even though some price recovery seems to be coming up, the market still remains volatile. The combined effect of low prices and downward revision of the 2021-2022 crop forecast makes it difficult for Cocoa Board /CMC to generate enough cocoa contracts to collateralize further drawdowns under the long-term facility. Considering the expiration date of 11 November 2022, Cocoa Board will have to seek further extension of the availability period in order to have enough time in generating adequate cocoa contracts to support additional drawdown under the facility. This will bring additional cost to Cocoa Board in terms of commitment fees, charges, granting that the additional extension will be accepted by the lenders. Considering the current financial commitments of Cocoa Board, the best decision after analysis of all feasible options was to cancel the undrawn balance to achieve financial prudence. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Minister has mentioned extreme dry weather conditions, unfavorable prices, and COVID-19 as the various reasons why they were not able to raise enough collateral to access the facility. I want Minister also to tell steps he's taking to resolve the issue of late arrival of fertilizer or supply of fertilizer to farmers. Because this year, for instance, we had fertilizers around the end of September and beginning of October.
Yes, Honorable, can you repeat the question, please?
Mr. Speaker, I'm saying that Honorable Minister mentioned a condition, unfavorable prices, and COVID-19 as the reason why they were not able to raise enough collateral to access the facility. So I'm asking Minister that what steps is he also taking to address the issue of late supply or arrival of fertilizer and other inputs to cocoa farmers? As this year, we received fertilizer around end of September and beginning of October.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
The late arrival, yes.
Mr. Speaker, as the Honourable Member of Parliament knows, there has been severe disruption to global trade because of the Ukraine war. And Ukraine and Russia are major suppliers. They are major suppliers of these fertilizers to our country. And therefore, the delay was precisely that because of the disruption to global trade, it's not only Ghana, every country around the globe experienced some delay in the delivery. So it's precisely because of the disruption in international trade because of what is happening here. This is why this year there was this slight delay in delivering to fertilizer to farmers. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, thank you once again. Mr. Speaker, I want to know how much it cost Cocoa Board in terms of payment of fees and charges for the period that they were not able to raise enough to assess the period that they were not able to assess the fund. How much did they pay in terms of funds and charges?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't have those figures with me. I have to refer to Cocoa Board for the exact figures, so I'll do that later. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I didn't hear you.
Sorry?
I didn't hear Mr. Minister what he said.
Honorable Minister, didn't hear your answer.
Yeah, I said that I don't have the figures with me. I have to refer to Ghana Cocoa Board for those figures that you are demanding. So, if you would excuse me, I'll provide that after I receive the information from Ghana Cocoa Board. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, that you provide at appropriate time, I want to be assured of specific timelines that is going to provide these.
You want to be assured of what?
Specific timelines that is going to provide these figures to us.
Honorable, is that your third question? Very well. Honorable Minister, he says, when can you deliver the information?
Yes, assurance. I was a member of the Assurance Committee of Parliament, so I know exactly what that means. And I cannot stand in front of this august body to say that I'm going to give that figure tomorrow or the next. But definitely it will come. Thank you.
Yes, there is.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Minister in his answer indicated that actual cocoa production was 1,047,385 tons for the 2021-2022 crop year. Mr. Speaker, when you come down, the minister says that the forecast tonnage of 918,000 was projected for the 2021-2022 crop year at the beginning of the season. So it means that the forecast was below the actual output. That is the impression created in this paragraph. Then when you go down there, it says, the combined effect of low prices and downward revision of the 2021-22 crop forecast make it difficult for Cocoa Board, CMC, to generate enough cocoa contracts to collateralize further drawdowns. Mr. Speaker, in 2021-2022, total cocoa production in Ghana was 683,000. It was in 2020-2021. So this is complete misinformation.
What are you contrasting? What is your source of contrasting the minister's information? Do you have any data to
Mr. Speaker, from his own answer, it's clear.
You have said it is 600 and something.
Mr. Speaker, source is Cocoa Board. Before we approve it, it is here in the House. It's available to us in our hands. When we were approving the syndicated loan, that was the report the Finance Committee submitted to us. The minister himself knows that last year, Ghana did not cross the 1 million threshold. So why are we talking about this?
When you produce the data, I always give it value. But when you say 80 contrasted,
but Mr. Speaker, I agree perfectly with you. But what I'm saying is that even when you look at the statement, the answer provided, the contract itself clearly shows that that is not the position. Because how would you say that the actual production was 1,047,000, and then you come back to say that because we revised it down, we couldn't have enough contracts to guarantee for it. So if it is a mistake, the minister should admit that yes, it wasn't 2021, 2022. It was 2020,
Honorable,
2021.
you are supposed to ask the question. I've disallowed the question because it doesn't flow from any data. Honorable Minister, yes.
Mr. Speaker, thank you, even though you disallow it. I think the question, the answer from the minister is there. He says actual production was 1,047,385 tons for 2021. And my colleague just want clarification that you said actual production. Then you went down to say the revised production. So he just want a clarity in that line. That's all.
What is unclear about that? If they had given a projection and the actual projection came to this, why can't it be revised? If you have a question, please, you're available.
No, Mr. Speaker, the question, the answer says that actual cocoa production, not projection, Mr. Speaker.
Do you have a question to ask? You,
Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
I had given the floor to them. So if you have the question, otherwise I'm moving on. So, Leader, you only wanted to comment. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I want to find out from the minister whether the 1 million plus production for 2021-2022 production, the 2021-2022 season, which is contained in his answer, is an answer he still relies on. So you can correct.
Mr. Speaker, I shall repeat. Mr. Speaker, I want to find out from the minister whether his answer to this House in respect of the 1 million production for 2021-2022 is an answer he still relies on. Wait.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm so glad you are giving me the opportunity to clear the confusion. It's a typing error, that's all. Thank you.
So, Mr. Speaker, flowing from your answer.
Yes, leaders have as many as they choose to.
Mr. Speaker, so, Mr. Speaker, I would like to know from the Honorable Minister what date he wants record to capture as the accurate date for the 1 million plus production.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
The 1 million plus refers to 2020-2021. Thank you.
Refers to what year, please? 2020-2021.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Leader, the practice is that when your colleague leader is on the floor, you have to learn to be a leader before you come here. No. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, he should know that when he gets to this front bench, there are certain things you shouldn't bring forward here. You are the back bench. You can do what you're doing. Now you have the privilege of being available leader. Mr. Speaker, he has the privilege of being available leader.
Address me, leave.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like to know from the Honorable Minister, having provided clarity that the 1 million plus production level was for the 2020-2021 crop season.
That has been answered.
Yes.
Mr.
Speaker, yes, Mr. Speaker, I'm laying a foundation for a specific figure. Would he like to refer to the budget to give us the accurate tonnage? Yes, I agree, Mr. Speaker, because again we can see some discrepancy. Would he want to, Mr. Speaker, would the minister want to go back, refer and advise himself accordingly on the actual figure? It's over 1 million, but the exact figure, is what we want him to clarify. Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Minister, do you want to answer that question? All right.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would want to confirm that the 1,047,385 metric tons of the crop refers to 2020-2021. So that's for the record.
I earlier gave you the opportunity as a leader. You sat down. If you still want it, I'll give it to you. But please, you always give you before I go here. Once you lose it, you hardly get it back. But I'll give it to you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, for recognizing me as available leader for now. Mr. Speaker, the minister has given out a figure which he admitted that it was a mistake. His figure in the answers, which he said was for 2020-2021, was 1,047,385. But Mr. Speaker, the figure in our 2022 budget, which was supposed to be what he was quoting, is rather, Mr. Speaker, in paragraph 6A3, that a trend in cocoa production, permit me, Mr. Speaker, to quote, has turned in a positive direction. The 2020-21 season, total production reached an all-time high of 1,047,500 tons, a 34.82% increase over the output of the previous years. Mr. Speaker, but Mr. Minister has just admitted that his mistake was 1,047,000 and not what the budget they gave us in the budget. Mr. Speaker, this shows that his whole answer was wrong. If the budget is 1,045,500 and then his answer is 1,047,000, it means all the answers he's giving us here concerning this question is not right, Mr. Speaker. And so, if he can go and come back and give us the actual data and the actual answer on this. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister, are your answers wrong?
Mr. Speaker, I'm trying to get to all this confusion. But the fact of the matter is, Mr. Speaker, Cocoa Board revises their figures all the time. There are some stocks in the pipeline, some are stuck and all of that, and their procedures are to update their figures all the time. The 1,047,385 is the latest revised figure. Yes, it's not sacrosanct. Yes. No, I mean, Mr. Speaker, so that is the latest revised figure from Ghana Cocoa Board, and therefore I don't see the confusion. At the time of the budget, the figures then, and is always being revised. The Cocoa Board's figures are always revised to the latest standard that they know. So I think that my honorable members on the other side should understand that as a standard practice. It's not sacrosanct. Once it comes here in November, it could change in the course of the year as and when stocks are delivered at various points. So that is the explanation for the difference. Thank you.
Yes, available leader. Do you have any more questions?
No, Mr. Speaker. Just to add that when figures are given out in the budget, that is before this.
Is that a question?
No, I don't have any question.
Very well.
Yes, thank you.
We are in question time, so I'll proceed. Question number 945. In the name of the honourable member for Buem, Mr. Idi Kofi Adams.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Food and Agriculture the details and location of the beneficiaries of the 1,000 units of rice harvesters distributed to the women-based farmer rice groups across the country. Thank you.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as part of the government's strategy to develop the rice value chain and curb the importation of rice estimated at $200 million US, government imported 1,000 rice harvesters and distributed same to 247 women-based rice groups across the country in 2021. The details and regional locations of the beneficiary groups are as follows. Western North, 26. Greater Accra, 18. Upper West, 61. Central, 47. Eastern, 85. Ashanti, 120. Upper East, 62. Northeast, 47. Volta, 82. Oti, 45. Ahafo, 33. Bono, 53. Bono East, 56. Northern, 164. Savannah, 62. And Western, 39. The Speaker, the distribution of the rice harvesters to the various regions was based on the following criteria: availability of constitution of the group, evidence of bank account of the group, evidence of minutes of meetings, gender composition of the group in favor of women, the number of rice acreage cultivated by the group, coercion and demand for the harvesters, and lastly, the status of accessibility to harvesters. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, I would want to find out from the Minister, because my concern was the details. If you take example, Oti region, that he stated 45 groups, I want to know how many was given to each group and the location of the groups. That's my interest.
Yes, Honorable.
Mr. Speaker, I wish I could comply with the request, but I don't have those details here. So I have to consult the office for the information requested by the honourable member. Thank you.
Yes.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's so hard for me to even follow up because so many months after filing this question, it was a question I asked as a follow-up in the House. And the second Deputy Speaker presiding wanted me to ask a specific question so the Minister could come with the details. And if he's come with just regional breakdowns, and he's telling me he cannot give me details as a representative from Wim constituency, which is in the Oti region, for me to be able to know whether rice farmers in my area are beneficiaries or not, then I'm very disappointed after such a long time.
Honorable, this comment is unwelcome.
But
please, ask a further
let me.
He has given you the regional breakdowns. You can very clearly verify from your region if anybody in your district has.
Mr. Speaker, I wish it's so easy. He states they have a constitution, availability of constitution, evidence of bank accounts, evidence of minutes of meetings, gender composition, the number of rice acreage cultivated by a group. I want to find out whether the Minister can provide this House the acreages per region, or at least two regions. Take Ashanti region that has about 120 groups. What is the acreage for that region, for which you have
Honorable,
120?
you have to ask that as a specific question. This, you ask for beneficiaries of harvesters. Now you're moving into details of rice cultivation by groups. That has to be answered specifically so he comes with information. You know that the ministry doesn't sit with information. You ask the question, they go and source it. So we don't permit surprises. That's the whole answer. So please ask another question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would oblige the directives. Speaker, I would want to find out whether the Minister has received any feedback that this program has yielded any good dividends.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, for the information of the House, I was in the constituency of the Honourable Member only a few days ago. I spent the whole of Saturday in Oti region, and I saw the benefit that these implements are making to the people there. In fact, I have a video of 16 of them, of the women in their nice green T-shirts with their labels, where they are giving evidence of what they have achieved from this program through planting for food and jobs. Some of them have built houses out of the proceeds of their rice farms, some have bought plots of land, some have actually constructed blocks on their plots of land.
Yes, Honorable. So
and all those.
You have seen the benefits.
Yes.
Can we ask another question?
The benefits are enormous, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, the reason I was asking for some of the details is that it's not reflecting in the food prices in my area, because local rice has become so expensive and difficult to access. Thank you very much.
No, you have also asked a question. Yes, Honorable Sanjananja. Atibuamanting, right? Very well.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. I think the Minister has given a breakdown of regions. And can the Minister provide us with a list of beneficiaries?
That's the question. He has to ask the Minister for Food the details and location of the beneficiaries. And that is the answer. He didn't do what? The details and regional locations of beneficiary groups are provided here. Page 4.
Page 4. Mr. Speaker, he has only provided the number of groups in each region.
Yes.
But we want the specifics, the name, the list of the groups, the beneficiary groups.
That was what I asked, and I said such details are not sitting with him. You have to go if. Please ask another question. The details that he has them is what he has provided. Various groups, 26 in this way. That yes, that's what he has provided. If you want him to give the name of the groups, you have to give him bit further time to. I said we don't. We don't permit surprises. So if you ask that as a specific question, I'll allow him time to bring it. But please file that question. Honorable Sanjananja, you're done. I want to move on. Those who have had the opportunity, I want to recognize other people. Yes, Honorable Abdeja.
Right, Honorable Speaker. I come under Order 72 of our standing orders. And it reads, by the indulgence of the House and leave of Mr. Speaker, a member may, at the time appointed for statement under Order 53, Order of Business, explain a matter of public or personal nature or make a statement on a matter of urgent public importance. Any statement other than a personal statement may be commented on by other members. Mr. Speaker, our colleague, the Minister, in the past, said he's laid the report of the Cocoa Road audit in this House for the past 1.5 years. Mr. Speaker,
you are out of
Mr.
order.
Speaker, this is of national importance because it
Honorable, however serious it is, there are procedures for dealing with it. You don't jump into one program. I thought you were coming to tell me that one of our members had collapsed. Yes, you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to seek clarity from the Minister based on the answer published on page 4. If the table is referring to number of groups in each region or number of machines that went to each region, because it's a bit confusing. So is the table referring to number of groups that benefited in each region, or is referring to number of machines that benefited in each region, so that we can file a substantive question for the number of groups?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
These are the beneficiary groups. The details, the title of the table, Mr. Speaker, for the benefit of this House. The details and regional locations of the beneficiary groups are as follows. And we give the number of beneficiary groups in each region. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, then that is problematic because, Mr. Speaker, in the answer, we are told 247 women-based groups.
Not giving you the
But
floor.
if you, Mr.
I
Speaker,
have not given you the
sorry,
floor.
sorry, Mr. Speaker. But I just...
Yes, ranking member.
Right, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if the table provides the number of groups in the regions, then the 247 women-based rights groups provided the answer is not great. Because when you put the figures together, it adds up to 1,000. So that cannot be right. This refers to the number of the machines. So can the minister, because 26, you put the figures together, I've done the calculation, it's 1,000. And you have provided in your answer that the 1,000 rice harvesters were distributed to 247 women-based rice groups. So if you have 1,000 in the regions, how can they be the groups? So, Honorable Minister, this one refers to the machines, and the groups are 247. I wanted to ask, in Ahafo, for instance, we are told that 33 of the machines went to Ahafo region. I'm an MP from that region.
Honorable, let him answer. Honorable Minister, can you clarify? These add up to 1,000, and the groups are 247 stated by you. How do you reconcile saying that this number refers to the groups?
Mr. Speaker, the fact of the matter is the groups are not of the same numbers. Some may be 10, others may be 200. So it's not a question of each group having one. See, this is exactly what it is. We have a whole directorate for farmer groups, and it's always the case. You go to Sisala East, you have one group of 1,000 farmers. You come to Volta, you may have a group of only 15 farmers. But they are all groups in accordance, yes. So you don't expect that we will hand to each. So that is the explanation.
Honorable Minister, let's be clear. So these lists which add up to 1,000, is it the number of machines or the number of groups? That is the confusion we want to clear.
Mr. Speaker, if you look at the title of the table, it says details and regional locations of the beneficiary groups. Beneficiary, those who benefited. It's not talking about machines. It's talking about the number of groups. Yes. Mr. Speaker, it's very clear. The title is there.
Yes, and I come to the leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if the answer provided by the minister shows that the figures in the table are the groups, it means that we have 1,000 groups. Can the minister reconcile that the total of the table, which is 1,000, with the 247 in the opening statement of the answer? Can he reconcile the two?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'll have to refer to the Mechanization Directorate of the Ministry for that. I cannot sit here and answer. But for what I know, groups, because groups are not the same number of people in each group. That one is a fact. And therefore, the distribution of the machinery cannot be the same for each group. That one too, I know. And in some cases, groups, 2 or 3 groups may have access to the same AMSEC and so on. So it's a very complicated matter. And I need clarification from my directorates, and I'll come back to this house for it. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Minister should just withdraw this answer. It's misleading. You mentioned 247 women-based groups, but the table is talking about 1,000, and you also say that the numbers in the table are the groups. So there are 2 groups here, 247 in the opening statement, and then in the table 1,000. Reconcile the two. That's what we are saying. If you can't reconcile, withdraw the answer and come back.
Honourable Minister, that confusion must be cleared, or you want to be giving time to come back and clarify it. You have already stated 247, but the list here numbers up to 1,000. So the 1,000 is consistent with the number of machines, but not consistent with the number of groups. That's why we want to clarify. So what do you want to do, to go and come back, or you clarify it now? Yes, I was waiting for you. We want to clarify the record before we proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I'll come back with further details. Thank you.
Very well. We will come back with that answer. The table office will take note and reprogram that question to be answered afresh. Question number 964. In the name of the Honourable Member for Bole Bamboy, Yusuf Suleimana. Yes, why are you on your feet?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I have his permission to seek your leave to ask the question on his behalf.
Very well, leave granted.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I rise to ask the Minister for Food and Agriculture what measures and policies government has instituted to prevent herdsmen from destroying farmlands and farm produce and its consequent clashes between herdsmen and farmers in the Bole district. Thank you.
Yes, Honourable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In 2017, government established the Ghana Cattle Ranching Project, GCRC, with an interministerial committee charged to oversee transhumance and pastoral practices. The committee is mandated to find solutions to the frequent clashes between herdsmen and crop farmers. The interministerial committee comprised the following: the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, Ministry of National Security, Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, and the Ministry of Interior. Mr. Speaker, since the establishment of this interministerial committee, the following measures have been taken to manage, reduce, and eliminate herder and farmer clashes. 1. Infrastructural development. 2 further banks in Wawase and Amankwa in the Kwau-Afram Plains have been rehabilitated and converted into model cattle ranches to hold community cattle as a means of curtailing the frequent herder-farmer conflicts in the area. So far, there has been a high degree of success. 2. Collaboration of the transhumanist space. Government of Ghana, acting in collaboration with some NGOs, has made the following intervention in the transhumanist space. 1. Development of 3-number livestock markets in Boko in Upper East Region, Buipe in the Savannah region, and Gushago in the Northern region. 2. Construction of 3 livestock loading ramps in Zabila and Pusiga in Upper East, and Guna Yili in the Northern Region. 3. Establishment of 6 campsites in Gushegu, Jankpili, Takaligu in the Northern Region, Berigi and Soto in the Savannah Region, and Zongoiri in the Upper East Region. 4. Provision of 8 water points in Jankpihi, Takaligu, Gushegu in the Northern Region, Buipe, Berigi, Soto in the Savannah, and Yarigu and Ziogo in the Upper East Region. 5. Destination of 50 kilometers Sapeligu, Zongoi region livestock movement corridor in the Upper East, and provision of 3 grazing reserves in Yangpili, Takaligi, and Perigi in the Northern and Savannah regions. Mr. Speaker, further to the stated interventions, the GCRC has submitted its proposal to government for the establishment of 5 grazing reserves and corridor systems in the Boko West District, Central Gonja District, East Gonja District, Gushegu District, Sola Tuna Kalba District, Sisala East, Adaklu, Fantiakwa, Sechafran Plains, Secha District, Kumau District, and the Kintampo North Municipal. Public relations. Mr. Speaker, to ensure peaceful coexistence and cohabitation of pastoralists and crop farmers within conflict and anticipated conflict zones, continuous consultation and sensitization of stakeholders as cattle owners, crop farmers, and community members are being undertaken. Further, 2 pilot conflict resolution committees, in brackets, District Sharing Committee, have been set up in Kwahu Afram Plains South District, headed by the District Chief Executive and his colleague at the Busa South District, Fumbisi, to settle disputes. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to report that the listed interventions are yielding positive results. As cases of conflict have continued to decline, government will stay the course in the quest to achieve sustainable peace between crop farmers and herdsmen. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, going through the response of the minister, I'm even more confused than I was before. The question is targeted at Boyle District. Going through the response, I have not seen any intervention that is targeted at Boyle District. I want to find out exactly from the minister which of these interventions is meant to address this menace in the Boyle District. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the nature of the problem we're dealing with is not strictly geographical location, but rather a national problem which has to be solved nationally. So Bole is in fact benefiting from these arrangements and interventions that we are talking about, but specifically there are a lot of districts adjoining to Bole and its environs which have benefited specifically from these interventions, which indirectly has benefited the people of Bole. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the minister alluded to the fact that there are some interventions being made by the GCRC in the area of getting grazing reserves and corridor systems in some specific districts. May I find out from the minister whether he will want to consider the Bole district so that we can have the grazing reserves and corridor system specifically in the Bole district to address this canker? Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, all districts which have the movement of herdsmen will ultimately benefit. But as I keep saying, we have a very limited budget, so we can only go from A to B to C. Ultimately, I hope that Bole will have direct access to these interventions. But these are selected on the basis of strategy and resources, and that is what is working. As we said, the number of conflicts have reduced substantially, and crop farmers are now going about their work in a very peaceful manner, unlike 6-7 years ago when the daily occurrence of conflict was really disturbing agriculture in this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to find out from the Minister whether he has organized any stakeholder engagement in the Bole district, especially that he's talking about conflict resolution. Has he organized anything like that to address this problem in the district? Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
The Speaker, the simple answer is no. Thank you.
This is a constituency-specific question. Question number 965. Honorable Member for Awutu Senior West. Mrs. Gisela Tete Aguti.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister of Agric, I rise to ask the Minister for Food and Agriculture what effort the ministry is instituting to establish mechanization centers for farmers in the Awutu Senior District. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, since 2018, MOFA has imported various agricultural machinery and equipment from Brazil for sale to interested farmers, institutions, and new investors at subsidized rate across the country. This is intended to promote the establishment of private sector-owned mechanization centers to support farmers in the southern, middle, and northern belts of Ghana. Further to this, Mr. Speaker, government through MOFA is arranging $150 million Exim Bank facility for the same purpose. A detailed project report for implementation is being prepared by a consultant. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Minister, recently in my constituency, even though an order of about 20 of the tractors or so forth were made to the region, they could really pay for only 6. Now, those are even individual farmers who have made the effort to try and get those. What intervention can you make for smallholder farmers who are very many in number, large number, and this cuts across a lot of constituencies, who are very large in number, but may not have the financial means to be able to get equipment that should be able to be used in their farms for the smallholder? Because that is what I thought these mechanization centers could be for. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the idea of the AMSEC, that's Agricultural Mechanization Centers, is to bring smallholder farmers together as a group so that they can have the services of mechanization at a subsidized rate. The thing is that, Mr. Speaker, in trying to do that, farmers would have to come together in groups, and they should meet certain criteria with a certification from their district directors of agriculture. If they say that there are 100 farmers the district director and his extension staff who are working with the farmers should be able to verify that, yes, these are genuine farmers and that their needs are ABC. They farm together so many acres and so on. So then the group itself should apply to the ministry through the district director and the recommendations of the regional director so that they can be of benefit. In most cases, these groups cannot pay outright the heavily subsidized prices for the equipment. But we can make terms for them if they pay a certain amount of deposit, a certain percentage. I think it's 1/3 or something like that. And a lot of farmer groups in this country have benefited from that in all regions, including, I'm sure, your own region, central region. And therefore, I would suggest to the Honourable Member of Parliament to contact his District Director of Agriculture to see how they bring these groups around. And once these groups are in place, they can apply like others. As you say, the Brazilian facility may be too late now, but we have in the pipeline the Exim Bank of India facility, and we'll be too glad to assist them. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the reason why I was asking about these mechanization centers, and yes, I can appreciate the fact that you are saying they should come together. There already are a lot of farmer groups planting cassava, maize, all the various crops. They are already there. Is there a strategy, apart from what you have mentioned, is there another way of looking at it, such that whether it is the youth and agriculture initiatives or whatever, they can be, large tracts can be plowed for the youth to be able to go into agriculture in that way? Because I can appreciate, like I said, I can appreciate where you are coming from, but it doesn't work in that manner for the outcomes that we all desire. Unfortunately, I engage my district director of Agric a lot, and if everything was all well and good, it wouldn't need my intervention to even ask this question. Because Gomoa West has such a mechanization center. And I think Infantiman also has such a mechanization center. So is there a strategy to have them actively as mechanization centers in districts, which will help the farmers in a much more organized and productive way? Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I know of the mechanization center in Apam. I've visited it myself and visited farms around, beneficiary farmers and so on. It's working perfectly. The problem is that mechanization center, like 31 other district assemblies that we gave them these facilities, up to now they haven't even paid for the equipment, not even one peso. And yet, the money that we are using to bring these items in are loanable funds from the people of Brazil. We have to pay back. So if after reducing with a huge subsidy, we give the benefit and you don't pay back, then it's drawing others back. So if those people have paid, since 2018, if those districts have paid, by now I'm sure Udu Sheria district would have also benefited. But that's the problem that we are facing, that people, it's difficult to get them to pay up so that we can at least turn it around, because that facility is for a grace period of 4 or 5 years, I've forgotten. And we're hoping that we'll be able, once everybody paid, we'll be able to even order another set before the 5th year, 1 year. But that's not happening. So we have a problem there, but definitely the closest one to you is what I've mentioned. And I think that if you go there, you'll be able to have a discussion and see, get the model, the idea that you can bring to your constituency. Thank you.
Are you done? Very well. This is a constituency-specific question, and I'm not extending it beyond. Question number 1405. Honorable Member for Utafo. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, The honorable member is unavoidably absent, and it is his prayer to the chair for his question to be rescheduled.
Did you say you're going to ask for him or ask the question on his behalf, or you want it to be rescheduled?
No, Mr. Speaker, the prayer is for your leave to reschedule.
Very well. I'll proceed to the next question. Question number 1409. The name of the honorable member for Bunkurugu. Abednego Azuma Bandim. Yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise to ask the Minister for Food and Agriculture whether farmers or farm tribe, an agrochemical and seed distribution company based in Tamale, is licensed by the ministry to import and sell hybrid maize of seeds, maize seeds in Ghana. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Farmer Tribe Company Limited is duly registered with the Plant Protection and Regulatory Services Directorate of the Ministry. As a retailer to sell seeds in the country, the company was licensed on the 25th of March 2020 and has since renewed its registration. This can be verified at the PPRSD Directorate in Mofa. It is my understanding, Mr. Speaker, that the hybrid maize seeds sold by the dealer are mobilized from companies engaged in the importation of seeds into the country. For emphasis, therefore, Farmer Tribe is a retailing company with no license to import seeds into the country. Thank you.
Yes,
Yes, Mr. Speaker, may I know from the Minister whose responsibility it is to ensure that the hybrid seeds, maize seeds that are being distributed or sold by Farm Tribe meet the required standards?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, that's precisely the job of PPRSD, Plant Protection and Regulatory Directorate of the Ministry. They have to license all importers of seed. They have to issue permits and all other things related to it. So if this company meets the requirement, I don't see why the PPRSD cannot give them the permit to import or the license to operate in this country. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, during the planting season this year, this company distributed seeds of maize to farmers in my constituency. They bought them, planted them, and it never germinated. Indication was that they were expired. Mr. Speaker, what measures would the minister put in place to ensure that these expired seeds are not sold to the unsuspected farmers in future?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm really surprised at this statement because it's never come to my attention that seeds sold to farmers in the honourable member's constituency did not germinate. And if that's the case, it's against the law. So he should have reported it to me or to the District Director of Agriculture, and we have taken very severe measures against it. We want to kill that practice. It was very rampant, but now with a very strict regulation, we are getting it down. But we haven't been able to uproot it totally from the system. So I would appreciate further discussion with the honourable member so that we can take further action on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I've exhausted your three.
No.
Really?
Please.
Very well.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The company staff were confronted by farmers in my constituency and demanded refund. But the company insisted that they would do refund only when the farmers bring or produce the seeds that were sold to them, which was not possible anyway because they had already planted it. Now, I want to find out from the minister that is it possible that they will prevail on farmers' tribe to make a refund to the farmers who bought their produce?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think the best way out is for the farmers to petition myself or the regional director of agriculture or the district director to get to us, and we'll take necessary action. If we investigate and find that it is a practice which they have conducted, then it's against the regulation, it's against the law, and we have to deal with them and withdraw their license if possible. So we would need a kind of a petition with the evidence attached, and we will investigate and then take necessary action. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. I would take action as the minister has demanded. Thank you.
Very well. Honorable members, that brings us to the end of question time. I thank the Honorable Minister for attending upon the House to answer questions. You are discharged. Yes, Honorable Deputy Whip.
Dear Mr. Speaker, we are continuing with presentation of papers. The Minister is here to item 8 on page 3.
Very well. At the commencement of public business, item 8, presentation of papers. A, by the Minister for Interior.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Ghana Immigration Service for the year 2021.
The paper is duly presented. Is referred to the Committee on Defense and Interior to consider and report.
Speaker, item 10. By item. No, not the Finance Minister. We are doing the Education Minister, C. Minister.
Honorable, which one were you referring to? Is 8C. All right, very well. You want the Minister for Education to do it on his behalf? Very well. Minister for Interior. Very well. 8CI. Yes, Honorable Minister.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Ministry of Education for the year 2021.
The paper is duly presented. Is referred to the Committee on Education to consider and report. II.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the St. Francis College of Education for the year 2021.
The paper is duly presented. Is referred to the Committee on Education to consider and report. III.
Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the Sunyani Technical University for the year 2021.
The paper is duly presented. Is referred to the Committee on Education to consider and report. IV.
I read that. Annual statement by the Audit Committee of the University of Mines and Technology for the year 2021.
Sorry, which one did you? IV is.
It's okay.
He did transposition by the same thing. So you just refer it to the Committee on Education and that is.
Very well. The paper is duly presented. Is referred to the Committee on Education to consider and report to the House. Honourable members, we are close to the presentation of papers. Any indication?
Mr. Speaker, that's about all for the day. I move that today's proceeding be brought to an end till tomorrow 10 a.m. in the forenoon. Thank you.
Yes, any second.
Mr. Speaker, on the other paper, there was supposed to be a joint caucus meeting. And this was approved by the Business Committee last week. It has been programmed and it's on the other paper. Why are we not having the joint caucus meeting?
Which of the other papers are you referring to? What page, please? Page 5. Oh, very well. Joint caucus meeting after adjournment. So let's proceed with the business. After adjournment, you can ask a question. But for now, the motion was for adjournment.
Mr. Speaker, we agreed that we were to adjourn and have the joint caucus meeting. And if it will come on, members must be informed that after adjournment, there will be a joint caucus. That is what I was inquiring from the majority bench before we second the motion for adjournment. And if it will not come on, then meaning after adjournment, members can go. Maybe it is being rescheduled. They need to be told something. Whichever be the case, Mr. Speaker, I don't want to preempt what is supposed to be discussed at the joint caucus meeting. The stakes are high for tomorrow, and we wanted to meet as a joint caucus to prepare the House for tomorrow, because when we started in the morning, Mr. Speaker, you came very early, but you could see that it was only one person seated there, and it is not good for our image. These are part of the matters that we wanted to discuss at the joint caucus meeting. But if it will not come on, Mr. Speaker, before I will second the motion, I would just want to entreat honorable colleagues that tomorrow the motion for censorship will be moved, and it's on the other paper slated for the 10th of November. So members must come early. By 10 o'clock, we must all be here in our numbers. Mr. Speaker, with that, I second the motion.
Honourable members, the motion for adjournment has been moved and seconded. All in favor of the House adjourning now, say aye. All against, say no. The ayes have it. The House is accordingly adjourned to Thursday, November 10, 2022, at 10 o'clock in the forenoon.